Hello everyone, welcome to part 3. This is one of my favorite places to be in the verse, the middle of our corp here, and we're going to talk about the economy. It's a big one. And one thing that I love about some of the planets like Lorville and the Business Center and ArcCorp here in Area 18 is this section over here called the Trade and Development Division. I'm really looking forward to seeing what I saw, some of it being integrated into hubs like these. It would be great to see the program which Tony and Jake used be implemented into our trade kiosks somehow as far as the analytics are concerned. And I hope that they're thinking about that as we continue forward with this economy 1.0. Without further ado, let's talk one of my favorite subjects, the economy. Just thinking about how this video is for very hardcore industrialist gamers. If you are not an economist, if you are not an industrial type player, you're probably going to want to turn this off right now. So see ya. And hello to those that are here, because this is not going to be like an exciting thing to watch at all. I'm just going to play the portion of CitizenCon where Tony Z was in the house, man. And I didn't even realize he was going to be there. And then Jake, and poor Jake didn't get to talk, and he's kind of instrumental in the economy. I would have liked to hear what he had to say, but something happened with his speech or his notes, and he didn't really get to talk at all, and that was a bummer. But Tony got to talk, and I was really happy to hear him. Last year at CitizenCon, he had just brought up the general guidelines of what the economy was going to entail. It was like economy 0.1, and I was really kind of disheartened, and it was very general, and I wanted more details, and they didn't fail me on this presentation. This one showed me exactly what it is that we're going to get, and I'm going to talk to you about it in length. It's going to be quite a long video. I'm going to try and keep this down to like 20 minutes if possible, because I know I can get talking on this. And you know, to preface this talk before I get into what was shown, I think it's important because I really focus on this channel here. And the economy and the gameplay, when it comes to the industrial gameplay, is really important to me. I don't like fetch quests. I don't like missions that just take me from point A to point B, and the commodity that I'm trading have no real purpose other than to be like part of my cargo. And then the end of the run, I get a reward, and I don't know what happens to this commodity. It just gets dumped into a spreadsheet and recycled, and nothing really happens to it. There's no physicality to it. It doesn't make you feel like you're an accomplished trader, an accomplished miner, an accomplished whatever you're doing in the game in regards to the industry. It doesn't make you feel like what you did was worth anything, and that's hollow gameplay. I hate that. Nobody likes that. That's an industrial gamer. We all hate that. We want to make sure that there's some type of physicality to the commodities that we are trading, that there is true demand. Now, that was my biggest gripe going into last year's CitizenCon, where I was saying, you know, really the only way you can get true demand is through human consumption, human demand. The only way that you can get fair pricing is if, you know, you can actually buy and sell these products on the market, have the ability, like an Eve, for instance, where you can put your own buy orders and your own sell orders out there. I've changed a little bit since, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. But initially, you know, when you're talking about a true human-led economy, even in our real-life markets, what ends up happening, even with AI, because there is AI and different types of trading out there, I realize that, but when it comes down to our demand, what we want as the human species. And when you're talking about the game and an economy in a game that tries to mimic a real life economy, it's almost impossible to do. I've really only seen it done in Eve properly, and some people would argue with me, but I'm going to explain now, very in layman's term, very basic, how these economies, player-driven economies, work. So you've got a trader that, let's start it off with a miner. You've got a miner. He mines some different types of roids out there. He brings the roids back. He can either sell those roids or he can have them processed into minerals. If miners deal with like larger mining ships, like an Orion, for instance, you're probably just going to want to mine all that shit. Oh, but it has its own refinery in there, so it can process its own minerals. So that's a bad example. Let's use the new ship. Let's use the Mole. Okay, which is awesome, by the way. So much content, man. I can't even get to it. Say you're using the Mole, which is a new mining ship in between the Prospector and the Orion, being closer to the Prospector than the Orion, but it's got 3 mining lasers. Say you're out there with the crew and you're mining the shit out of a roid field, and you find like a nice little patch that's pretty profitable, or at least you think that it is. And let's see, this is the very first time that this has been discovered. This roid has been discovered, and you bring it back. This is just for the example's sake. And you're like, wow, this isn't out there. This is so the value of it, because of the scarcity of this, is going to be through the roof. And so you have the power to price it what you believe it should be worth. Now, whether somebody's going to buy that or not is completely up to the market, completely up to the demand. The scarcity being that this thing has never been found before and it's brand new, I can guarantee you that the value is going to be very high. So you have the ability to price it up very high. This is not the market I believe we're going to get in Star Citizen. So I just wanted to get that out of the way first, and I will talk a little bit more about that after I show you what I'm talking about as far as demand itself. A lot of you know this already, but if you put that roid out there that's very rare on the market, 9 out of 10 is going to be bought right away at whatever price, a ridiculous price. And this is one of the things about Eve that people hate, is that you have areas in Eve that are very, and this has to do with location as well, that are so far out in nullsec, which is like a very PvP oriented section of space that is away from the centralist kind of PvE space in Eve. And you see that people are selling things for ridiculous amounts of money, and people who are gaming and they're out there and they're not necessarily traders, they don't trade or are not involved in industry, they don't get it. They're like, well, this is ridiculous, I'm not buying this here. Okay, well then go fly 50 jumps and go buy it for a better price. That's your prerogative. And that is the power of pricing when it comes to the fact that that item is actually has some scarcity because it's being sold in an area that's so far away from the centralist kind of market. And so that is a reason why the pricing can be up as well. There's a lot of reasons why scarcity happens. It can happen because of location. It can happen because the resource is dwindling and there's not a lot of it left. There's a lot of different factors that prices in value into an item. So you got 2 guys. Now they find the same roid, and now it's a little less scarce. So now the second guy, let's call him Tim. I don't know what the first guy's name is. Maybe I called him Tim as well. So there's 2 Tims. They go to the market, and they put, one guy says, oh, I was selling this at 10 million per whatever metric ton. This other guy's selling it at, now the new guy sees that there's a 10 million order and says, well, I'll sell it at half. Fuck it. And I know they're going to buy it because it's at a lower price. They do. And then the guy with 10 million says, well, it doesn't matter because, now I'm the only guy in town again, except a third guy finds it. Now he puts it out there. Now it's starting to become less scarce. And you see more and more people start to put their pricing in for these, what were once scarce roids. And the pricing finds a natural equilibrium. It finds a balance, a median average price. And this is how things are priced in the real world. This is how player-driven markets work in gaming. That's why Eve works so well. That's why people who are really into it, they say this is a true market. This is how the market really works in real life. And they're right. That is. Now, Cloud Imperium doesn't want that. And that was a gripe for the longest time for me because I said, well, if they don't want that, then what are we going to get? A fetch quest? Are we going to get the opposite of it? And no, in fact, that was one of the first things that Tony had talked about during this presentation at CitizenCon that made me jump up for joy. Nodes. And these are things that we don't have answers yet as far as like, are we going to be able to have our own manufacturing node? We still don't know. He did not answer that. So I was a little disappointed that we did not get a real answer to that. I'd imagine that we will. But putting that kind of power into players' hands is something that I think Cloud Imperium sometimes gets a little sketch about. They go, because so many people are yelling that they don't want a player-driven economy because they're worried about jacked up pricing. And as I explained to you before, essentially supply and demand mechanics price things out at a fair price based upon the factors we had talked about already. So I'm trying to prove my case for a player-driven market. And at the same time, I want you guys to understand that I actually appreciated the model that he showed us. Because to me, it seems as if he is simulating supply and demand effectively through AI, which has not really been done in any game. And when I saw that they had this program called Hex that they were using, it's very similar, like the paths to spleens they called them, that they essentially put these resource nodes down and they put these manufacturing nodes down. You got to see these resource gathering NPC, this algorithm start to work. And you saw that as, for instance, Tony had put down just a resource node. So the NPC resource gatherers literally went there, mined the hell out of the resource, and there was a glut of it because they had nowhere to go with it. So there was this huge amount of supply in regards to this commodity, and you saw the pricing go down, which is exactly what should happen. You have a ton of supply, and then the price goes down. There's so much of it. Why in the hell would you pay a lot for it? And it made me go, I'm kind of respecting this. And then when I saw that he entered a manufacturing node and that the NPC, said, oh, okay, now I got a place where I can take these minerals because they're needed. And what you ended up finding is the manufacturing node started to use these resources. And as the resources became used to create another resource, to create another commodity, that the initial commodity from the resource node, the price started to go up. And so there's your basic supply demand mechanics built into this algorithm. Now, how we're going to find like a natural price to start at, I think is going to be plugged in by Cloud Imperium Games. It kind of concerns me a little bit because I still would like to have the ability to have, as a trader, as an industrial player, the ability to price my own goods, the ability to be able to put out buy orders, the ability to put out sell orders. And we don't have enough information on that yet. That was not discussed at the conference. I'll leave that alone because we are really in economy 1.0 right now. But as far as what I saw, I was intrigued because I saw something working here that normally what's going to happen is it's a computation. If humans, players, gamers go into an area where this computation is working, these NPCs will just automatically show up. And, because of object container streaming, you're near the object or you're near the NPCs, you're near this route, they will show up. And you can essentially, if you're a pirate, take them out and create more scarcity because if it blows up, you're creating more scarcity. Otherwise, you're jacking the ship and you're taking those goods and really nothing was lost except for that particular NPC trader who lost his profit. But you could be creating scarcity because you could be blowing up the ship. And then he added pirates. Then he added NPC pirates. And I thought that was really cool because that also is another factor in creating like this scarcity model to create higher pricing. So I saw that there was some volatility. And that was nice to see that he put volatility into a market. I like volatility. Volatility helps us get bigger profit margins. Also could help us get lower profit margins. But I still think that we are tied to this market in terms of like we will not be able to buy and sell to anything but a terminal. That we will not be able to buy and sell. I don't know if we're going to be able to buy and sell with other human players. I know that the article I saw for Massively Overpowered, unfortunately, I think Jake was going to talk about that, but he didn't. But I'll mention it here while I'm talking. I read a wonderful article. We went over on the stream during that alien xenolinguistic section that I wanted to gorge my eyes out in. But we talked about how Jake was heavily relying on beacon systems, which I think is busted. But at the end of the article, he started to talk about wallet-to-wallet transactions, which we were talking about. I felt good that he was talking about it in this article, that he realized that there was a need for it. But the other thing that I want to tie into it as well is being able to trade commodities with one another. So for instance, if you're a player who's an industrial player and I have a commodity, I want to be able to say, hey, I got some of that. Would you buy it from me? Now, again, that was not talked about. But that is okay. Again, we are at of the very floor of the economy, and the program that I saw where they're literally able to show these routes to put in the equation through what they're calling quantum. I initially thought it was them being able to see everything in quantum. That's not it. The quantum, or the quanta as it is the essentially the algorithm. They're giving specified rule sets to a system by putting in nodes, and that was very encouraging because it made the NPCs do what they need to do in order to simulate supply and demand. It's very, very awesome. I mean, kudos, because I don't think I've ever really seen that kind of simulation of supply and demand effectively. And I still am very skeptical until I play, because I really want to have a little bit more power when it comes to pricing. And I don't really think we're going to get that again. But again, we're going back to my statement where we're still at a 1.0 economy. I'm personally happy that we're not stuck with just fetch quests, though. So I'm beyond that. I'm happy that I know we're not getting fetch quests. And now, looking at this hex program that they were using, seeing that they're actually able to see the active players in the system, looking at the probability volumes, which was a problem that they were talking about earlier, which was really interesting to hear about, how they didn't understand how the NPC reacted to any of these nodes until they put them in, till they put this quanta in, and they got to see how these NPC reacted to these nodes, and they could create these spleens, these paths that the NPCs are taking, so that they could properly put in pirates in correct areas, properly put in security in the correct areas in the systems, because these systems are huge. So they had like a pocket of pirates over here, pocket of UEE guys over here, NPCs over here. It was a fucking mess. They didn't know what they were going to do in terms of the economy, because they were all over the place, and they didn't realize how these things were going to react to one another, which is why they needed this program. And it was well thought out, and I have to say, I'm giving tons of kudos to Tony and Jake for creating this system. It was something that really blew me away to watch. And I think we're in the infancy stage here, and I only see it getting better, but I really want to talk about like the ability of the players to have like a true industrialist experience, a little bit of more power in the pricing, the ability to have like our own shops, the ability to have our own manufacturing nodes. These are all concerns that I have moving forward. But all in all, these were the details that I was asking for. Of course, I always want more details. I'm not satiated yet. But I'm saying that I am cautiously optimistic at this point. And look at this. We are nearly at 20 minutes. I think I accomplished what I set out to do when I started this video. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, hardcore MFer, you industrialist, you who sat through this whole thing and listened to this. I congratulate you. And, especially that first part where I was just trying to explain player-driven demand. Some people who are hardcore industrials just logged out because they already know that. So you actually sat through that as well. Or those people that are curious about it, that just want to know about it, that sat through there. Congratulations to you for having some patience, for having some horse sense, as it were. All right. I am completely exhausted after that. I love talking about this, though. And perhaps I'll do more. Perhaps I will do more with you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this economy, what you thought of the presentation. Tony Z, I think, really, really knocked it out with this one. Crushed it, really. Like, when he asked everybody there, like, do you guys want me to keep going? And people said yes. They were screaming yes. I knew right then and there. I was like, you can see that this is a big concern for a lot of gamers out there. This is a core component of this game being successful. There are a lot of people that like to play this way, including myself, including you sitting here listening. So it is something that we need to keep voicing up about. It's very important that we get the gameplay that we want in this game, if it is to be that limitless experience that we want. And that is all for me today. Thanks for watching this very boring vid where nothing happened, but hopefully I was exciting enough to kind of crop out all the worries that you saw in the video. He's like, I'm just listening to this dude right now. So thanks everybody. And as always, I will always see you on the next vid. Peace out. Today's video has been brought to you by the generous patrons of DG360 who make continued content possible. DG360 patrons enjoy monthly giveaways like Star Citizen packages, Steam gift cards, and any game that you want giveaways. Please consider donating $1 if in any way you enjoy DG360 content. And these difficult times where independent content creation is under attack from the FTC and left to die by YouTube, it's nice to know that I'm appreciated. Thank you.